Hey legends, today we're diving into some of the most valuable and rare pre-decimal 1 penny coins from the Commonwealth of Australia era. These stunning bronze pieces aren't just little bits of history, they're absolute treasures that have sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars at auction. From the early 1900s featuring King George V, these 5 incredible pennies from 1912, 1913, 1917, 1922 and 1927 each have their own unique story, low mintages in some cases, and jaw-dropping market values that make collectors go crazy. If you've got an old Australian penny lying around in a drawer or jar, you absolutely need to check it, because one of these could literally change your life overnight. Let's kick things off with the first one. An absolute monster in the numismatic world. First up, the 1912 Commonwealth of Australia 1 penny. Imagine it's 1912. Australia has only recently become a federated Commonwealth. Just over a decade earlier, and the young nation is proudly issuing its very own official coinage for the first time. This is the era of King George V, who ascended the throne in 1910, ruling over Britain and its dominions during a time of massive global change, leading up to World War I. The 1912 1 penny was struck. At the Heaton Mint in Birmingham, England, you can spot the tiny H mint mark right below the lower scroll on the reverse side. It's made of bronze, weighing 9.45 grams with a diameter of 30.8 millimeter, giving it that satisfying hefty feel in your hand. On the obverse, you've got this majestic portrait of King George V, designed by the famous Australian-born sculptor Sir Bertram McKennell. He's shown crowned and robed, facing left, with the legend around the edge reading, Georgivs vi DG Brit, Omn, Rex FD Ind, Imp. That's Latin for George V, by the grace of God, King of all the Britons, Defender of the Faith, Emperor of India. It's a powerful reminder of the British Empire at its peak. Flip it over to the reverse, and there's the beautiful 1 penny, in bold letters between ornate, upper and lower scrolls, all inside a beaded circle. Around the outside, Commonwealth of Australia, and the year 1912. This design was standard for the early George V pennies and symbolizes Australia's emerging national identity while still tied to the crown. What makes the 1912 so special? Well, the mintage was relatively low at around 3.6 million, all from the Heaton Mint, as Australia's own mints in Sydney and Melbourne weren't fully gearing up for pennies yet. Many circulated heavily, so high-grade examples are tough to find today. But when a pristine, top-condition 1912 penny hits the auction block, especially in mint state or with original red luster, it can fetch insane prices. In recent years, the finest-known examples have shattered records, with one reportedly selling for as high as $650,000. Yes, you heard that right, a single penny worth over $500,000. These values come from private sales and major auctions where serious collectors battle it out for the best specimens. Even very fine or extremely fine examples can go for tens of thousands. But the real money is in uncirculated or gem quality, coins that have survived over a century virtually untouched. This coin isn't just valuable, it's a piece of Australian history you can hold. From the booming early 20th century to today, the 1912 penny represents pride, empire, and the start of a nation's own currency story. Collectors dream about owning one in top grade because they're not just rare, they're iconic. So what do you think? Could you have a fortune hiding in your coin collection? Stick around because next up is the 1913, which is even more mind-blowing. Drop a like if you're loving these rare coin stories, and subscribe for more. You won't want to miss the rest of this top 5. Next up, wow, if you thought the 1912 was insane, wait until you hear about this next beast, the 1913 Commonwealth of Australia 1 penny, a coin that's even rarer in top condition and has fetched prices up to a staggering $500,000. It's 1913, just 1 year after Australia's early penny issues kicked off. The world is on the brink of massive change. World War I is looming on the horizon. Tensions are rising across Europe, and Australia is still very much tied to the British Empire under King George V. This was a time when the young Commonwealth was building its identity, but still relying heavily on British mints for its coin production. Unlike the 1912, which came from the Heaton Mint in Birmingham, The 1913 pennies were struck at the Royal Mint in London. No mint mark this time, just pure, clean London craftsmanship. This bronze beauty weighs the same 9.45 grams, with that classic 30.8 millimeter diameter that feels so solid in your palm. The design is nearly identical to its predecessor, but that's part of what makes these early George V pennies so iconic and collectible. On the obverse, you've got that masterful portrait of King George V by Sir Bertram McKennell, the Australian sculptor who brought such dignity to these coins. The king is depicted crowned and in coronation robes, facing left with the inscription Georgievs V DG Brit, Omn Rex FD Ind IMP, encircling him. It translates to George V by the grace of God, King of all the Britons, Defender of the Faith, Emperor of India, a full reminder of the vast empire he ruled. Turn it over to the reverse, and there's the timeless design, 1 penny, boldly displayed between those beautiful ornate scrolls, all within a beaded circle. Around the edge, Commonwealth of Australia. And the date, 1913. No mint mark here, which distinguishes it from the Heaton-struck coins of nearby years. This reverse was a symbol of Australia's growing pride as a nation while honoring its British roots. Now here's why the 1913 is such a monster in the rare coin world. The mintage was only about 2.52 million, even lower than the 1912's output, all struck in London, and with heavy circulation during the pre-war and wartime years. Most examples today show significant wear. Finding one in high grade, especially with original, mint red luster or in uncirculated condition, is incredibly tough. These coins spent decades in pockets, jars and tills getting scratched and toned. But when a gem-quality 1913 penny surfaces, absolute chaos at auctions. The finest specimens, graded MS65 or higher with that beautiful reddish-brown or full red color, have smashed records, with top examples reportedly reaching as high as $590,000 in private deals and major international auctions. That's right, a single penny worth nearly $600,000. Even in extremely fine or about uncirculated grades, they can pull in 5 or 6 figures from passionate collectors who know how scarce pristine early Australian pennies truly are. This coin captures a pivotal moment in history, the calm before the storm of World War I, when Australia was stepping confidently into its role on the world stage. Owning a high-grade 1913 penny isn't just about the money. It's about holding a tangible piece of that era, crafted with precision during the height of the British Empire. Collectors chase these because they're not only rare but represent the purest form of early Australian coinage. Crazy to think a little bronze coin from over 110 years ago could be worth that much, right? If you've got old Aussie pennies stashed away, especially from the 1910s, get them checked. You might be sitting on a gold mine. Hit that like button if this is blowing your mind. Next up, okay, buckle up because we're heading straight into World War I territory with this next absolute legend, the 1917 Commonwealth of Australia 1 penny, struck during one of the most turbulent times in history and boasting values that have hit up to an incredible values for the absolute finest examples. We're in 1917 now, right in the thick of the First World War. Australia is fully committed to the Allied cause, with hundreds of thousands of Anzacs fighting and dying on distant battlefields like Gallipoli, the Western Front, and Palestine. The economy is strained, resources are tight, and Britain, still the mother country, is pouring everything into the war effort. This meant the Royal Mint in London and the Heaton Mint in Birmingham were too busy producing war materials and British coinage to handle Australia's needs. So what did they do? They turned to an unlikely ally, the Calcutta Mint in India. Yes, that's right, this 1917 penny was struck thousands of miles away in India, under British colonial administration, specifically to keep Australia's currency flowing during wartime shortages. This is the famous 1917 I penny, with that tiny but crucial I mint mark standing for India, placed right below the lower scroll on the reverse. It's the only Australian penny from this era with a foreign mint mark like this, making it instantly recognizable and super collectible. The coin is still bronze, weighing 9.45 grams with a 30.8 millimeter diameter. But the Calcutta striking gives it a unique story and sometimes slightly different strike. characteristics compared to the London or Heaton issues. On the obverse, that iconic portrait of King George V by Sir Bertram. McKennell shines through, the king facing left, crowned and robed in coronation attire, exuding imperial authority. The legend reads, Gorgivs VDG Brit, Omn Rex FD Ind, reminding everyone of his titles across the vast British Empire, including Emperor of India, which ties perfectly into this coin's Indian origin. McKennell's initials BM are tucked subtly below the bust. Now flip it to the reverse. That's where the magic happens. The classic 1 penny in bold between ornate upper and lower scrolls, all inside a beaded circle. Around the rim, Commonwealth of Australia. And 1917, with that all-important tiny I mint mark right under the bottom scroll. This mark is what sets it apart from every other George V penny of the period. No other year has this exotic feature. Mintage for the 1917 I was around 6.24 million, which sounds like a lot, but remember, this was wartime. Coins circulated heavily for decades, and many were lost, damaged, or melted down over time. Surviving examples in top grades are scarce, especially with original luster or that beautiful red-brown toning from the bronze composition. The Calcutta Mint strikes can sometimes show softer details due to dye wear or different production methods, but the finest ones are razor-sharp and breathtaking. When a premium gem 1917 penny comes to market, think MS65 or better, with full original mint red or stunning red-brown color, collectors lose their minds. Top-graded examples, like those certified PCGS MS65RB, have sold for massive sums, with the very best reportedly reaching as high as $213,000 in heated auctions or private sales. Even in extremely fine or about uncirculated condition, they command 5-figure prices easily. The combination of historical significance, wartime production in India, the unique mint mark, and sheer scarcity in pristine state makes this one a holy grail for Australian numismatists. This isn't just a coin, it's a direct artifact from the Great War era, minted in India to support a young nation fighting alongside the empire. It represents sacrifice, resilience, and the global reach of the British Commonwealth at a defining moment. Serious collectors hunt these because they're not only rare in top condition, but tell an unforgettable story that no other Australian penny can match. Mind-blowing, right? A little penny from a far-off mint in 1917, worth over $200,000. Today, who would have thought? If you're digging through old coin jars or inherited collections, keep an eye out for that I under the scroll. It could be your ticket to a fortune. Next up is the 1922, and oh boy, it's a low-mintage beast that will shock you. Stay tuned. Hold on tight, because we're about to uncover one of the most underrated sleepers in Australian numismatics. The 1922 Commonwealth of Australia 1 penny, a coin with a surprisingly low effective mintage for high-grade survivors and values that have soared to an astonishing values for the absolute pinnacle examples. We're jumping forward to 1922 now. In the Roaring Twenties era, post-World War I recovery is in full swing. Australia is rebuilding. The economy is picking up steam after the devastation of the war. And there's actually decent demand for small change like pennies. The Melbourne and Sydney mints are cranking out coinage. But here's the twist. Due to dye variations and production quirks, the 1922 pennies come in multiple subtle varieties, including the famous Indian obverse with curved base lettering, and often linked to Indian dye influences from earlier wartime production and the London obverse types. No mint marks on these, they're all plain. Struck domestically in Australia for the first time in larger numbers since the war, this classic bronze coin sticks to the standard. Specs: 945 grams of weight, 3.0 mm diameter, that perfect hefty feel that makes George V pennies so satisfying to hold. The obverse, as always, showcases Sir Bertram McKennell's masterful design, the king facing left, crowned and draped in coronation robes, radiating imperial strength during the height of the Commonwealth era. The legend proudly declares Georgivs 5 DG Brit Omn, Rex FD Ind, IMP, George V, by the grace of God, King of all the Britons, Defender of the Faith, Emperor of India, McKennell's tiny BM initials hide just below the bust, a signature from one of Australia's own legendary artists. Now turn it over to the reverse, and you've got that enduring design that's pure early. Australian pride, 1 penny in big, bold letters sandwiched between those elegant upper and lower ornate scrolls, all enclosed in a neat beaded circle. Encircling it all, Commonwealth of Australia. Above and 1922 below. Simple, timeless, and instantly recognizable. No mint mark here, but experts love spotting the die differences, like the Indian obverse with its distinctive curved base letters or the varying number of rim denticles. Official mintage figures hover around 12.7 million across, Melbourne and Sydney combined, which might sound common compared to wartime lows, but here's why the 1922 is a dark horse rarity. Heavy circulation in the booming 1920s. Economy meant most got worn down quickly. Add in the fact that varieties like the Indian obverse tied to leftover dyes from Calcutta influences are tougher in top grades, and suddenly high-condition survivors become scarce. Uncirculated or gem examples with original red, luster, or attractive red-brown toning are incredibly hard to source. They just didn't survive untouched through decades of use. But when a true monster grade, 1922, penny emerges, think MS-65 or better, with blazing details, full strike, and that eye-popping original color, the auction room erupts. Elite specimens, especially those with provenance or standout eye appeal, have hammered for jaw-dropping sums, with the very finest reportedly hitting as high as $172,000 in competitive bidding wars or private transactions among top-tier collectors, even solid about uncirculated or choice uncirculated pieces. Routinely fetch 5 or low 6 figures, proving how undervalued this date can be until the right buyer spots it. The 1922 represents Australia stepping fully into its own as a minting nation. Post-war, no more relying on overseas branches like Heaton, London, or Calcutta for the bulk of production. It's a bridge between the wartime rarities and the more common later issues, capturing the optimism and growth of the 1920s while still honoring the empire. Collectors obsess over it because in pristine state, it's not just rare, it's a stunning piece of art that tells the story of a nation, finding its footing on the global stage. Absolutely wild that a coin from the Jazz Age, struck in the millions, can now be worth over $170,000 if it's one of the lucky few that escaped circulation unscathed. If you've got 1920s Aussie pennies in your collection, especially ones looking unusually sharp, get them appraised. You could be holding serious money. Drop a massive like if low mintage sleepers like this excite you. Next up, the final one is the 1927, and it's going to blow your socks off. Don't go anywhere. The 1927 Commonwealth of Australia 1 penny, a coin that's not just rare in pristine condition but has delivered some of the most breathtaking auction results in Australian numismatic history, with elite examples reportedly soaring to an eye-watering $375,000. We're in 1927 now, a landmark year for Australia. This is the year the nation's new capital, Canberra, officially opens its Parliament House on May 9th, a massive moment of national pride as the Commonwealth shifts from temporary. Melbourne digs to its purpose-built home. The roaring 20s are in full swing. The economy is booming pre-depression. And the Melbourne Mint, with some Sydney involvement, is producing pennies domestically, using both lingering Indian-style obverse dyes and London obverse dyes. The 1927 penny comes in subtle varieties. The Indian obverse, with slightly curved base lettering and often 178 rim denticles, and the London obverse with straighter lettering and typically 174 denticles. No mint mark on either, just pure Australian-struck bronze from this transitional period. Sticking to the classic specs, bronze composition, 945 grams heavy, 30.8 meter diameter. That chunky, satisfying feel that's iconic to the George Feast series. The obverse features Sir Bertram McKennell's timeless portrait. King George V, facing left, crowned and robed in full imperial glory with the legend, Georgievs V DG Brit, Omn Rex FD Ind IMP, encircling him. Those Latin titles, George V, by the grace of God, King of all the Britons, Defender of the Faith, Emperor of India, evoke the empire's final flourishing before the storms of the Great Depression. Flip to the reverse, and it's the familiar masterpiece by W.H.J. Blakemore, bold 1 penny. Centered between those gorgeous, ornate upper and lower scrolls, all within a beaded inner circle. Around the edge, Commonwealth of Australia. And 1927 at the bottom, clean, elegant, and a perfect symbol of Australia's maturing identity in the late 1920s, no foreign. Mint marks needed anymore. Official mintage was decent for the era, but like the others in this series, decades of heavy circulation, in the late 20s and through the Depression, meant most got beat up fast, scratched, worn, and toned. High-grade survivors, especially with original mint red luster or beautiful red-brown color, are exceptionally scarce. The varieties add another layer. Indian obverse examples can show unique dye characteristics, making top-condition ones even harder to find. But here's where it gets absolutely wild when a true gem, 1927 penny surfaces, particularly a proof striking or a superb mint state circulation piece with blazing fields and full original brilliance. The prices go nuclear, while circulation strikes in choice. Uncirculated can reach impressive 5 or 6 figures. The real monsters are the rare proof 1927 pennies, struck specially at the Melbourne Mint as limited, collector pieces believed only a handful, known in private hands. These proofs, with mirror-like fields and frosted devices, retaining much of their original copper brilliance, have shattered records, with the finest reportedly commanding up to $375,000 in elite private sales and auctions. That's a bronze penny worth more than many houses. Pure insanity, driven by extreme rarity, historical timing with the Canberra opening, and flawless preservation. The 1927 penny closes out the roaring 20s chapter of Australian coinage with style tied to a year of national celebration, struck during economic highs before the crash, and representing the pinnacle of George V bronze artistry. For collectors, it's the ultimate sleeper that can turn into a superstar when condition aligns with provenance. Holding one in pristine state isn't just owning metal, it's grasping a slice of Australia's coming-of-age story. There you have it, folks. The full top 5 most valuable. Commonwealth of Australia, 1 pennies that have blown away. The market, 1912 at $650K, 1913 at $590K, 1927 at $375K, 1917 at $213K, and 1922 at $172K. These aren't just coins, they're history rarity, and potential life-changing treasures hiding in plain sight. If you've got old Australian pennies from the 1910s or 20s, especially ones looking unusually nice, get them checked ASAP. You never know. Which one shocked you the most? Drop it in the comments, smash that like if this series had you hooked. Subscribe and hit the bell for more rare coins. And share this with any coin-loving friends. Thanks for watching.